Good morning and welcome to another episode of the 10,000 Club, where we are all drinking through a fire hose with learning. We believe it happens 30 minutes at a time. So this is another episode and you're getting your hours in towards 10,000 hours. Doug and Cindy are already pros. They're probably in the 20,000 plus, but I'm still drinking from the fire hose of 10,000 hours. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're in that club, that 10,000, now 20,000 mile club, right?
Exactly.
She's talking about our age, Doug.
No. Yeah, let's not get into that.
Let's stay away from that. Well, today at the 10,000 Club, we're going to be talking about client communication. And we were brainstorming yesterday about what this could look like. And we were talking about the fact that the benchmark starts with us. We're the ones that needs to set the bar and, draw the lines of communication. And so for each one of us, that looks differently. Some clients like to text, some don't, some just like to email, some like to call crazy hours. How do you guys do it?
Yeah. Cindy, ladies first. Hit it.
What I do is when I meet them, I ask them, what is the best way to communicate? And if it's a couple in that, I ask them, do you want me to just communicate with one of you as kind of the point person or both, and make sure that, I'm a morning person and I could text people at 4 a.m. and it'd be no big deal to me, but I want to make sure, I don't do that to clients if they don't want that, but I kind of establish that right up front so there's no questions.
Good.
I'm going to echo a couple things you just said. I agree with that. Again, first off, when I sit down with a client, number one, we're talking about how we're going to communicate. You've already said that, Cindy. The thing that's always interesting to me is people all do communicate differently. So I'm kind of one of those guys that sets the expectation. Literally, as the pro, this is how I choose to communicate. This is how I'd like to convey information to you guys. And I ask for confirmation for that. Now, whether that's in a text or whether that's in an email or the old-fashioned way that we just pick up the phone, those are the things that I think when you start that way, again, as you go through the process, and how many times do you touch point, from appraisals to inspections to financing to what? I mean, it's all out there. Again, setting that expectation day one is super important. And I feel that the better I am at doing that early on in the process, the easier, the smoother the transaction goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you find more clients like to text than talk on the phone these days? Or do you feel like it just depends? Is it an age thing? Is it that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Me personally, I can get a better read on people when I talk with them on the phone. But some people like to text it, and I don't know if it matters by age or that. Takes me a little bit longer to text. I just assume pick up the phone, but I think it just varies. They might be at work and can only text too.
And just about the time I thought the other day, it is an age thing. I took on a client, 80-year-old man. He said, "Hey, don't call me, just text me, will you?"
Yeah.
So I'm like,
You gotta love it. I love that. Yeah. Well, when it gets to, so now you've met the client, you've established, their best mode of communication and your preferred mode. But, again, we're trying to create a relationship that's beneficial for both people. And one of the big things that happens early on are these documents. And the documents, we'll talk about the buyer side. But when you meet a buyer and you need to have them sign that disclosure, and all the other disclosures. We all have a method of doing that. We were sharing yesterday, as we were planning for this live stream, the different ways that all of us do it. And there is no right way to do it. There's the way that you do it and the way that you found to be a comfortable way of communicating this thing to your client. So, Doug, how is it that you communicate those documents with your client, and how do you get them to sign, and what manner do you do that?
Yeah, well, and that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. It's interesting to me that when you're sitting down with them, and again, I'm a better face-to-face guy, right?
Yep.
So after we establish the communication, this is how we're going to communicate. I arrange a time. I said, well, why don't we do this? Let's get off to a great start. What's a great day? What's a great time so we can sit down, literally begin, because there are a lot of documents. We really kind of want to walk through these together so you feel good about it. You have the ability to ask questions. for sure, I better know these documents.
Mhm.
I better know these backwards and forwards, right? So that, again, when I can sit down in my best language, I can share with them the importance of these documents, why they're signing them. Again, back to that feature and benefit. Here's the feature sheet. The benefit of you signing that document is this. And so again, I find that when I sit down with them, take the necessary time, explain what each one of those documents mean. Again, it doesn't seem to be anything other than a normal, casual conversation that we're building trust within each other and literally kind of building on how this process started. So I don't know if I answered that question or not, but
No,
that's usually a really great starting point for me. Getting those documents signed. For heaven's sakes, guys and gals, learn the documents backwards, forwards, know what you're talking about. Again, you're the pro, as Tracy loves to say to us, we're the pro, man. We got to know those documents and we've got to feel very comfortable in the way we communicate that to our client.
yeah. Doug, do you have them sign it in person, or do you, after you've had that conversation, do you send them through dot loop? How do you do that?
I like to do both.
Okay.
Again, if they're sitting there and they pick up that pen right away and they're signing, man alive, go ahead, let's do it the old fashioned way. You guys can sign those. I'll upload the dot loop.
Okay.
If they prefer doing everything technology wise, and I've gone to listing appointments, I've sat in front of buyers, I'll take time to print the documents, literally walk through the documents with them. And then at the end of the conversation, I'll say things like, hey, I'll be sending these to each of your emails, so you guys can sign these electronically if I know their personality, and literally that's how they prefer working. So
Yeah.
I've done both. Both have worked out well, depending upon who they are.
Okay. What about you, Cindy?
Yeah, Doug, I kind of do the same thing. I have a lot of clients that are out of area. And so I'll actually go over the documents over the phone with them too. Or
Yeah.
Zoom, but
Yeah.
mostly over the phone, and I'll go through it, have them, email them copies or send it through dot loop and do that. It really it's kind of your own style, and when you get in the rhythm of it, it's just a natural thing. It's just natural. The more you do it, the more you're comfortable with it. You just have to do it. And like Tracy said, there's no right or wrong.
Right, exactly. And what I usually do is I like what Doug and you both do. I mean, those are all good ways to do it as well. When I meet people in person, I remember Elaine, one of our agents, I was working with her daughter and son-in-law, and when we were standing outside one of the houses, we were talking about agency and things like that. And then I gave this little, hi, I'm Tracy. I go, I'm going to ask you to sign a lot of documents. I said, and one of them is going to be, hi, I'm Tracy. I'm a buyer's agent. Hi, I'm, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We're buyers. And then I explained what my fiduciary responsibility was. And I did it in this quick little boop, 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 like that, And when I finished, Elaine just goes, I wish I had just recorded that. That was great, because it felt very non-threatening. It felt like, hey, I'm going to be sending you some documents. This is what they're going to look like. This is why we do this. This is why an agency relationship is necessary, right? Because you're going to be sharing private information about yourselves with me that I'm going to hold in a vault, and I'm not going to share with anyone else. It's inside this relationship. So these documents basically, form that relationship. And then what I've done is I've pre-typed up some language that is in a sheet that says, attached, please find the disclosure regarding agency relationship. And then I go on to describe it in a little bit more detail, like this is what I'm asking you to sign. And then I send it to them. Now, the one thing I thought about, like Doug could do, when Doug meets with people in person and he's got those documents in his hand, maybe that they sit and pen, and then he takes home and loads into dot loop. Dot loop has a feature that I don't know if any of you have ever done it, but it's host an in-person signing. And so you can host an in-person signing in dot loop. So you load your documents into dot loop, you assign everything, and then you say, I'm going to host an in-person signing. And then it literally, when you click on the person's name, it pops up on the screen and says, hand over the device to so-and-so. And then you're taking it and you're handing it over. Anyone could be clicking it, but the idea is that you are hosting an in-person signing. So
That's
you
cool.
you literally could get those documents fully executed at the moment and in dot loop. The beauty of dot loop is that the documents don't lose their integrity when we scan and email. And that has made a difference, I think, in the lending world, probably in the title world too, because they're easy to read. So yeah, try it sometime if you're ever
I'm
with
super
someone.
stretching now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try
I'll
that.
have to do that. Well,
I-
I've actually showed up at appointments and buyers are like, okay, I know I have some things I need to sign.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are prepped for that because they
Yep.
do their research ahead of
Mhm.
time too.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
looking to you to be the pro and execute those.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I'm certainly going to try that. I said the thing that I've said this over and over again too, though. I've talked to a lot of agents that really don't know the documents. I mean, literally don't know them. They kind of count on us to kind of explain those. And again, as the broker support role, absolutely, we're going to do as much as we can to get you up to speed on what you need to say. How do you say it? Do you understand? And again, there are no goofy questions on these forms. If you do not understand them, please, let's have conversations before you get in front of your client. So you have the confidence to be able to explain that. Again, those conversations go much better when you know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, because we have agents that call us and we want to help them, but it's really important that they read the documents and are familiar with them and then write down their questions
Yep.
on what they have and what they're confused about, because that actually helps both of us. We can help them, help them better figure out what the question is and what the confusion is. But absolutely, you want to know those documents, especially before your client signs them.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. I like that because you're helping. What we're trying to do is help you identify your question. That's
Yeah.
it. And when you read through it and something doesn't make sense and you're able to write it down and then come back to us, then we can help you, work it through and we're able to give you the language so that you now have the words to explain it to somebody else. So
Yeah.
And your confidence level goes from here to here, right? When you're in front of the client. Because if you're not confident as you're explaining that to someone, do you think they know that?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Well,
yeah.
and it's just like, I mean, I'm a slow reader. I need to take my time, but I'll go through, and especially if I get offers in, I print them out and I'll highlight, I want to make sure, especially if it's from another, MLS, I want to make sure because I've made that mistake. I've missed where they've required a survey or a well and septic.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that again. Once is enough.
Yeah.
But really, you have to really, find a format that works for you.
yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Yeah. You might have seen, we recently did a 10,000. I don't think it was a 10,000. I think it was a class that Kim Anderson taught. Yeah, it was just a class she taught with Michael Hall from our relocation department. The thing about relocation, and you may have an opportunity as a new agent to do relocation at some point, either on the listing side or the buyer side. But if you have that opportunity, you're going to want to take a minute to tap into that live stream that we did and also get to know Michael. There is a lot of documents and a lot of reading when you decide to do a relo. Have either of you ever done relo before?
I have not. But maybe I was just so intimidated by the amount of documents, the amount of reading.
There is a lot of
just not done.
documents.
Yeah.
I've done sales or where my buyers have purchased relo, and everything comes in a timeline. The relocation company, everything, they change things a little different. So you have to make sure and read those because those timelines and their stipulations and that are really important.
Yeah, they really are. And each relocation deal you do could be through a different relocation company.
Yeah.
So the rules of engagement are different.
Yeah.
So, so definitely learn to be a student, Greg Carlson has always said, he's been a realtor for over 40 years and he has been a student of real estate for over 40 years. And so I don't think that we can learn enough. Part of your morning routine every day should have an element. Like this morning, we all woke up to an email from Kim Anderson because she was doing her morning learning herself this morning. And she shared something with all of us like, hey, here's a tip I think that might be helpful for all of us as we help all of you. So I can't stress that enough.
No, I love it.
for sure. Well, you're always learning, and every day, every transaction is different. And I think you're constantly learning.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
you guys, we talked a little bit yesterday too about just basic client follow-up. And again, I got to thinking about that after we met, and I'm thinking, what are the percentages of agents that are very good at follow-up? They really, I mean, they take it to heart. I know the most successful people in our real estate trade that follow up, and I mean follow up with everything that can happen, not even during a transaction, but after that, to follow up a month later and pick up the phone or send them a quick email. Hey, how's everything in the new house? I mean,
Yeah.
just small things that you can do to separate yourself as somebody that, hey, we need to stay in touch. Because again, I think we can all really spend more time in the client follow-up area and be better at what we do there. Retaining clients for the future. That's again, that's something that I spend a lot of time on. I kind of feel like I use the word adopting them because I want to adopt them for the future and everybody they know. So again, I just wanted to touch on that because that's an important piece.
Yeah, for sure.
That falls in line with take care of your clients for 5 years and they'll take care of you for life. But if you don't take care of them in those 5 years, if you're not calling them and following up with them and checking up on them or interacting with them in just some small way, they're going to forget you're there.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
Yeah. And it's easy once you get, I mean, it's pretty easy to do too. I mean, like Tracy said, send them an email, talk to them. I'm going to be listing a property. I sold them the property back in 2014. And we've run into each other. I've called them and kept in contact because there's realtors everywhere.
Right. Yeah. When you're using that transaction list for, your transaction list for your, let's say it's a buyer, and it tells you all the different steps you have to do. The last steps are always follow up, but the relationship really takes on a new life after the closing. So, the steps after are just as important as the ones, during the transaction. And because during the transaction is where you're seeding that relationship with your client. I'm always looking for reasons to call a client during a transaction, especially a buyer who you've been working with for months and months. Then you finally get them under contract. You finally get through inspections. You finally get through the appraisal, and then it's kind of quiet. So find ways to interact with them, to communicate all through the transaction. Be setting them up for success. Get in front of it. Always be finding ways to prove your value, because you're going to get paid handsomely through this closing. And that's one thing that you want to do, is show them that you provided value through the transaction.
And they'll remember it too. Go the extra mile always.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, gang, that
Good
might
stuff.
be it. That might be it for today. Any final thoughts?
Man, I think we touched on a lot. I mean, again, the things that now I'm pretty excited about going back and learning how to do this. What did you call it again with dot loop that I can
host an in-person signing?
Yeah, I need a dot loop lesson, Tracy. I'm calling you.
Okay, so I'll do it.
I got it.
I'll do it. I'll do it. And one thing that Doug said that I want to echo was the need to know your documents, practice them, put that mirror in front of yourself. And it's easier when you're talking to someone. It might be you, but when you're looking at someone, and be confident, know the documents, write down your questions when you read through them. If you do not understand them, call Marissa, Kim, Cindy, Doug, or myself. We are happy to help you. Okay.
Absolutely.
We sure are.
Amen. Well, I love what we've talked about. This is all good stuff.
Sure is.
Yep. Make it a great week, gang.
All right. All right. Sounds good.
See everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Cindy, Grace, thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.